But I can send out a trainee to do an inspection, but I cannot send that same person as soon as they become certified.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast.
Minisode.
Appraisers, I know that you get it when it comes to the topic on the board today, but this episode, if you will, is for AMCs. It's for clients. It's for lenders. It's for anyone who might use appraisal services, especially in the lending industry. And yes, I know you're out there. I do get feedback every once in a while from individuals that it's not just appraisers that listen to this program, but this is for those of you who work with appraisers. And I want you to consider some of your policies and some of the cries that we hear from our clients as to the problems with the industry. And certainly there are some issues out there, but this one I think could solve a lot of headache if you'll listen, if you'll consider, if you'll reconsider your policies, as the case may be. I want to pause here and remind you that we are sponsored by ANow Software. Of course, ANow is the software that I use to manage my appraisal office. I was just on it literally before I turned on the microphone, just checking, seeing where we are at for the month. I do that quite often. Their analytics tab is fabulous, and I can keep track of everything that's going on in my appraisal office. You can too by using ANow software. Find out more at anow.com/coach. One more time, it's anow.com/coach. All right, folks, there is a story told, and I've told it here before, so I'm just going to summarize it. It's the story about the ham and the oven, right? And for those of you who have not heard the story, I'll just summarize it. I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. There is a young newlywed couple, and I think they're there for Christmas Eve or something like that. She cuts off the ends of the ham, and the husband asks why she does that. And she says, well, I don't know. My mom taught me to do it that way. And, of course, the mom is there, and he asks her, and, well, my mom taught me how to do it that way. And going back to the source, why is it that you cut the ends off the ham? And thinking that it's because it make it taste better, right? But the bottom line is the original starter of that practice did it because the oven was too small for a big ham. And so the story is that sometimes we do things because that's the way we were taught, that's the way we've always done them, that's the policy or the procedure or the exercise or the way of doing things that we just kind of fell into, and we never stopped to question why. We never stop sometimes to question, why is it that we do this thing? And I'm a guy that likes to think outside the box. I'm a guy that kind of prides myself on saying, okay, here's what everybody else is doing. Why? And is that what I want to do, or is there a better way, another way, a different way of doing things? And I guess it's the skeptic in me, but I'm doing that constantly, not just with my business, but relationships and health and the way I spend my time, many, many things, right? And I'm constantly questioning the status quo. I'm constantly poking the box. I'm constantly tearing myself out of the box, getting outside the box and finding if there's a better or different way of doing things. And I think sometimes we simply fall into the trap, and I'm going to call it a trap, of doing things a certain way, not because they're the best way, but because that's just what we've always done. Or that's the policy or the way of doing things that we kind of fell into just by default. And there is a practice out there going on right now that I think could change a lot in this industry. Let me set it up this way. Over the last several years, there have been some major changes that have taken place in the appraisal world. Let me give you one example, hybrids, okay? Bifurcated products, where you send out, and by you I mean the lender, the client. You send out a third party that may, let's just be honest, may or may not be fully qualified to do an inspection for valuation purposes. But that individual nonetheless is sent out to do an inspection, and then the appraiser is supposed to pick up that information and create an appraisal report first of all, create an appraisal and then put that on an appraisal report based on that credible information, right? And the reason that we have been given for this policy, this new change, and it's not a new change, I guess, it's been around for a long time, but the increase and greatly increased number of times that this is being done. The reason that we've been given for doing this is that there is a shortage of appraisers and turn times are too slow and fees are too high, right? And the bottom line is, and I've talked about this on this program before, it's not, this is a mini-sode today, I'm not going to get into the details, but if you're interested, I've talked at length about bifurcated products on this program. So go back and listen to one of those episodes and you'll know my thoughts and feelings on that. But the bottom line is, bifurcated products solve none of that. Okay? It doesn't help with the shortage of appraisers, it doesn't help with the speed, and it doesn't help with the fee. Think about it, right? How is taking a process and splitting it between two people and sending them out so they've got to wait on each other that are outside their office? Now, I can certainly see why this would be beneficial inside the office. In fact, we do it all the time in my office. Well, I call it in-office bifurcated products, right? Where I might send out somebody, an appraiser in my office to go out and do an inspection. That can save a lot of time, and I'll get into a specific instance here in just a bit. But where you're sending out a third party that has to accept the assignment, schedule the appointment, go out and do the inspection, turn in the report, that has to be processed. It has to then be turned to an appraiser who accepts the assignment, gets all the data, tries to decipher it, do their part, and send that back out. We know for a fact, we've been doing this months, if not years now, we know for a fact that it is not saving time. We also know for a fact that it is not saving money. Let me give you a specific. The other day, I talked to an individual who is using bifurcated products. This is a lender. And he specifically said to me that he has allocated a certain amount for an appraisal, and he is charging the client the same amount regardless of whether or not that is a bifurcated product, some type of a hybrid, a desktop, or a full-blown appraisal. I said, let me get this straight. First of all, I asked him how much it was. He said $800. I said, let me get this straight. So if I charge $500 for a full appraisal and you as the AMC make, and he's not an AMC, by the way. It's kind of a hybrid AMC, if you will. But for purposes of keeping this simple, you as the AMC are going to take $300 of that, and $500 is paid to the appraiser. The borrower pays $800. He said yes. And I said, now, what if I do a desktop appraisal for $250? What happens then? And he said, we still charge $800 to the homeowner. Now, I want you to let that sink in for a second. And I think this is pretty common practice, right? So this is not saving money. It's not saving time. It's not making for more credible reports, period. End of story. It's not helping, okay? But I've got a solution as to what will. If you're truly concerned about fees and you're truly concerned about turn time, I want you to think through this process of bifurcated within the office. Okay, this is something that we used to do all the time. It was not even questioned. First of all, it's not a USPAP thing. Second of all, it's not a Fannie Mae thing, as long as it's done in the proper context. Third of all, it should not be, and here's my advocacy today, it should not be part of your policy to keep appraisers that are in the same office from helping each other out and giving credit where credit is due. I'm going to give you a specific instance and why I came on the microphone today in just a little bit. I want to first pause and remind you that we are sponsored by ANow Software. ANow, of course, is the software that in the Appraisal Precision office we have been using for 3+ years and absolutely love. I cannot imagine not using it. I cannot imagine not getting the benefits that I get from ANow Software. And specifically, that's the benefit of being able to control and know everything that's going on in my appraisal office at the click of a button or two. It's ANow Software. You can find them at anow.com/coach. Again, it's anow.com/coach. All right, folks, we're talking today mostly to AMCs. I'm talking to you AMCs. I'm talking to you clients, lenders. I want you to think for a moment about your policies, okay? And what I'm going to call the loophole, okay, the big loophole right now. The concern out there right now of what I've been told by my associates, my friends in the AMC, the lender world, is that the big concern is, quote unquote, shortage of appraisals. Appraisers. I think that we have proven over the last several years that that's not true. There might be a couple pockets throughout the U.S. that there might be a little bit of a shortage of appraisers, but in a broad sense, it's not a thing. Okay. But I'll tell you what is a concern, and that is turn times, and that's a true concern. We live in a world of rocket mortgage, and I'm not advocating for that. I'm simply saying that is reality, right? We are living in a world where turn time is important, and I understand the argument, especially from appraisers, say, wait, hold on a second. You're making a big decision on a huge loan, right? A mortgage that's going to last you 30 years or more, right? Let's slow it down. Let's take some time and do it right. I get that. I get it. But we also have to understand that reality is we want we're instant gratification, right? So is there a way to speed up the process of the appraisal without cutting into the quality? And I believe there is. I've used the doctor's office analogy before. I'm not going to get into it now, but allowing the doctor, quote unquote, the appraiser, to be able to focus on the most important parts of the appraisal process, which in my mind is the analysis side, not the data collection side, I think it would be beneficial. But let me set this up this way. I got off the phone this morning from an individual at a very big AMC. If I told you the name of the AMC, you would know it instantly. It's a very big client of ours. We do about 20% of our overall, by the way, I know that because A-Now Software tells me that, but about 20% of our overall volume comes from this particular client. It's a big AMC. And I talked to an individual at that AMC and went through this process because I'd heard through the grapevine that they were going to start allowing you to enter office, not reassign the appraisal, but assign out the appraisal inspection, the observation. Okay? And so the question on the table was, if I've got two appraisers in the same office and the assignment comes to me, Dustin, can I turn around and have Scott go out and do the inspection? Now, let me just put question to rest right now. It is not against USPAP. It's not against Fannie Mae. Okay, USPAP doesn't care who does the inspection as long as significant assistance is given in the report. In other words, that you reveal who did what. That you're honest up front about who did what. Fannie Mae doesn't even care as long as the signature matches the certification. Okay. In other words, there are some that say if someone else does the inspection, they really should sign the left side and the supervisor sign the right side and mark the box that they did not inspect. Okay. And I can see the argument for that. But the bottom line is this can be done using the current forms that we use, the 1004 UAD, the 1025, any other Fannie Mae form. This can be done and done on the up and up. What's holding us back are the clients. The clients that say that, yeah, I'm willing to do bifurcated products and send a third party out there to do an inspection, but I'm not going to allow the appraiser to reassign the inspection within their office, even to another appraiser. And I'll go one step further. The conversation that I had with this client is they did verify with me that, yes, we do allow you as the appraiser to send your trainee, okay, not even a full-fledged appraiser, your trainee can do the inspection unsupervised, as long as you put that in the report, as long as you do where it's needed. In other words, you reveal the significant assistance that was given. So, for example, if I've got a trainee by the name of Elizabeth, I can send Elizabeth for this particular AMC. It's a big AMC, as long as it's not FHA. And he did say there might be a couple clients out there, but you'll know on the engagement letter, okay, that may not allow this. But that's why I'm on the microphone today, right? I'm hoping the clients will realize, if I can just say it straightforward, how ridiculous this policy is, right? You're willing to send out third parties to do bifurcated products, but you're not willing to allow an appraiser who knows the inspector send out their own inspector. It makes zero sense. Okay, so again, I'm getting off a little bit in the weeds. Let me regroup. This particular AMC allows you to send out a trainee, and by the way, this is very, very common. I'm finding throughout the industry. The appraiser can send out their trainee to do the inspection unsupervised, and then the appraiser puts together the appraisal value, the report, everything else, and simply gives credit in the report, indicates that Elizabeth did the inspection and that I didn't. That's okay with this particular group. It is not okay, however, to send out Scott, my other certified, who's been doing appraisals for a dozen years now, who's very qualified, who's actually on this AMC's list. Okay, I cannot send Scott out to do the observation, the inspection, if I'm the appraiser. I said, hold on, in fact, here's the funny thing. I didn't even have to point this out. The irony in this was the individual that I was speaking to on the phone. And bless his heart, he seemed like a very smart individual, and he was very helpful, and we're still trying to get to the bottom of this. But he says, okay, wait a second, I guess that is kind of funny. He says, so you can send out your trainee for 3 years while you're training that person, and as soon as that trainee gets licensed, they're no longer eligible to go out and do inspections for you. I mean, let that sink in for a second. How silly is this? So one day they're fully qualified to go out and do an inspection in your behalf without you in tow as a trainee, but the day they take their test and get their new license or certification from the state, they no longer can go out and do inspections for the appraiser. It makes zero sense, but guess what? This is very, very common throughout the industry. And this is why I started with the analogy of cutting off the ends of the ham, because I think this is simply a policy, a process that we've fallen into that wasn't really well thought out. I think what has happened is we've got the cart before the horse. And I'm calling on AMCs and lenders and other clients out there to reconsider, to think through the policy that you have on the books, because they really don't make sense. Let me state it this way. Most of you are doing bifurcated products where you're sending a third party, uninterested party, by the way, unknown a lot to the appraiser, okay, an unknown name to go out and do inspections, and you're fine with that. The appraiser did not go in the property. You're also okay, most of you, sending a trainee unaccompanied. And by the way, don't change that, okay? But I can send out a trainee to do an inspection, but I cannot send that same person as soon as they become certified. It just doesn't make any sense. We're cutting off the ends of the ham, and we don't really know why. So my plea today is that if you are listening to this program and you're not an appraiser, or maybe you are an appraiser but you run an AMC, okay, and please don't fall back on that, well, our clients, that's the way our clients want it. I get it. Maybe there are a few clients out there that require that, but guess what? I've talked to some big banks that don't have that stipulation. Is it possible? Here's my big question for the day. Is it possible that your policy is founded on what you think your clients need, but they may not actually need? Can you question your clients? Go back to the big banks that are hiring you to find the appraiser and ask them, hey, listen, we can get this product done in a more efficient and more quality way if you'll allow us to be able to allow the appraiser to choose who does the inspection. Folks, if you're really worried about the lack of appraisers, if you're really worried about the fee and the turn time, this policy in and of itself would solve much of that problem. I know that for a fact because this is the way we used to run our appraisal office back before HVCC and Dodd-Frank and all of these changes came into effect. By the way, those documents changed none of this. It's always been allowed as far as legalities go. Now, some of you might live in states where this isn't going to make a difference anyway, and I would call on the states to maybe reconsider their policies as well. If I, as an appraiser, trust Scott to do an appraisal inspection for me, and I give him significant assistance in the report. In other words, I am very clear in the report who did what. Why shouldn't that be an option? As a professional, shouldn't I be able to choose who does the data collection? That's the question on the table today. Folks, I hope you will join me at the All-Star Team. Every month, we meet together for 2 hours, live, interactive, online. You have an opportunity to ask any question you want of me and others in the room. We will help you to be more efficient, more effective, and make more money. That's what we're here to do. Check them out. Go to theappraisercoach.com/memberships.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star Team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.